I'll remind everybody this meeting is streamed live on YouTube. If you are speaking, try to speak into the microphone. And if you do speak at the podium, there's a sign-up sheet we'd like for you to print your name. And the purpose of that is so that we can transcribe the audio tape correctly. We can't usually get correct spelling off the audio tape for some names. So just print your name on there so we can get that right. You good?
I don't have the audio recording. We have the screen recording, but the tape, the audio tape is not.
Not working?
It's not here right now. I'm waiting for the city clerk.
Oh, well,
Never mind.
I promise I'll remember it.
But the YouTube is streaming. Yeah.
Oh, it's the internet then, it's got to be infallible.
let's see what we got.
So where's she at, the Radio Shack?
His file. He's here.
I think that's the board question on this.
I can go. It's easier for me to get out. He's usually late. That's why I do.
I know who Debbie's gone.
They've redone the
Straight
press
back.
office. It's one place I would.
Yeah, I was gonna go last week before the garden thing, just kind of like
Trevor.
sitting in the house and
During
just
DSS,
didn't make it.
waiting to be called.
Got out there, they both
I think it's initially this
Sitting
weekend.
ordered.
Okay.
They said,
I want to see my mom tomorrow. I would consider
2.49 acres.
one weekend.
sitting there,
You consider setbacks from prairie to interstate, it would get very, it would be very challenging.
Just don't.
Okay, and
there she is. That Elvis's greatest hits, we're gonna record over.
She said he was. I didn't see him, but she said he was.
okay, now we can start. All right, we'll call this meeting to order. This is the Thursday, May 4th meeting of the Asheboro City Council. As I said earlier, it is being live streamed on YouTube. Please sign in if you speak. At this point, I would ask that you rise and join me in a moment of silent meditation, and we will follow that with a pledge of allegiance. Thank you. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
James, there's seats in here. You want to come in? All right. This is the appointed time for the public comment period. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on any items of concern or public business, now is your opportunity. So who would like to go first? That's you, James. Come on. Before we get started, James, let me back up 1 second and just tell everybody in the room that you might notice we have an empty seat tonight. John Ogburn is not with us tonight, our city manager. His father, Jack Ogburn, passed away earlier in the week, and John and his family are making preparations for the service and getting their family to town for that service. So, go ahead, James.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. What I want to talk about tonight is the homeless situation. And it's very critical in this town. It's bad. I went out, I don't know if y'all have went out and spoke to these people, but I have. A lot of these people need help. But the thing of it is, a lot of them's got felonies and whatever it may be. But the thing of it is, moving them from one side of town to the other side of town is not the answer. And I think this group of board need to come up with a better solution to help these people, because it's getting worse and worse. I've had a situation Sunday morning that I had to go to Salisbury, and I went out Cox Street, and there was a young white male, had several different bags. He was whiter than his paper. I thought he was dead on the sidewalk, but he wasn't. He was just whatever. I ain't gonna go into that, but you know, it's getting to the point now it's critical. What can we do? What is the answer to this situation? It's everywhere. Like you say, you're going to say it's everywhere. But I don't live everywhere, Mr. David.
No, I'm going to ask you for the solution.
The solution is I think that we need to quit spending money on soccer fields and all this other stuff and put some money into the homeless situation. That's what I think we need to do. We need to have some kind of money available to help these people, because it's not going to go nowhere. It's getting worse and worse and worse. Worse. When I say worse, I work in Winston-Salem, Greensboro, Durham, Tennessee. I travel a broad area. We found one in the cemetery dead this week. So it ain't getting no better. And I thought we had an ordinance on our park out here, the beautiful park that we have concerts in, but they're sleeping on the concrete and in the bushes. Do we not have policing for that to do anything about that situation? I mean, it's getting to the point now, it's not safe to even go to a store, because these people are standing outside the store begging money, creating situations. But what is my leaders doing? And I'm going to say this, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but I'm going to say it. If y'all can't do no better than what you're doing, you need to step down. Every one of you need to step off this board, because we need some leaders going to go forth and take this town to the next level. We need some understanding that, hey, look, y'all care. It don't take, if you can go to work every day like I do, why can't you go out in the community and ask these people, say, look, what is your situation? What can I do? We're not doing, I don't see y'all out there. I'm not picking on you, but I don't see you out there. But we need to find out how we can help these people. We can't continue the way we continue. It's bad. It is really bad.
James, I'll share a couple of experiences with you. While you're in Durham, Tennessee, conducting your business all around, that may be why you don't see me anymore. But, and I know there are other members of Central Church present. We've had two situations. One in particular, man's got a 4-year degree, but he also has a dependency problem. And he comes to the church occasionally, and we try to help him, get him cleaned up. He uses some shower facilities. And then when he takes a notion, he goes back to living in the crawl space of some house that I don't know where's in. And there's a psychotic problem of some sort there that we and this board does not. I'll be glad to step down if you don't get Surgeon General up here to how to handle these people.
I probably could if I needed to.
Well, go ahead. Psychologically, you know, there are problems that are beyond the purview of anything that anybody in any of these other towns know of. And I'm just sharing with you my frustration. I don't have a solution. on some of our larger jobs in larger cities, we run into these encampments. We've grilled out for them, we do this, we've tried to get them transportation, and they go right back to the woods. I don't, you know, and I'm not saying this to everybody, I'm not trying to paint any generalities. At one of my properties, I had 3 boys and a dog living in a Kia Spectrum. You know, but that's what they wanted to do. I mean, it's a terrible situation, but you try to help them, give them some work or something other, and they wander off a little bit and come back that night. I don't know the answer. And looking from, say, Greensboro and Charlotte and all, I have no idea what sum of money could be thrown at it, but whatever they're throwing at it has not changed it much either. It is a traumatic situation. It
I
really
will
is.
say this, Prophet, we need to build some kind of shelter here, not the one we got here, because these people that lives in that shelter, they fleek in the park or whatever, the stores, and do all their drinking and stuff out in public. But the thing of it is, why not you saying throwing some money, I ain't gonna say that, but we need to put some money somewhere to build. If we can do this across the street over here, why can't we build a place to get these people, the ones that want the help, get them off the street?
First of all,
Yes.
we're not doing that.
Okay.
Private investment.
Okay. I'm sorry if
That's all right.
but hey,
You just need to get your facts right.
okay, but I'm gonna put it
Not
this
our
way.
building.
Okay, if we can spend $6 million on a soccer field, why can't we get a little money together? I mean, get some money together. Wait a minute, though. Get some
You
money.
familiar with Lydia's house?
Yeah, I can mean with that. But what I'm saying is, if we can spend all this money around town, spread all this love around town, why can't we show some love to these people? They're human beings just like we are. They fell short of some stuff. Well, I don't know the answer. I don't know what it was. I don't want to know what their problem was. But the thing of it is, why can't we have, as human beings ourselves, why can't we have some passion toward these people to at least try to help in some kind of way? If we got to get our churches together, like you said, get the churches together and maybe help. But it's got to be some starred somewhere. We just can't keep looking. But anyway, I'm going to move on past that. My next thing is the east side of town. I care about the whole town because I live in Asheboro. But my thing is, why can't we do something over there at the east side place? I know it's issues over there, but why can't we do something with that park, upgrade the park? Now, where I live at, it's a park near me, Glenwood. I had a grandkid, the fall, hurt his leg. But the thing of it is, why can't we put a net up there? A net to keep the ball from going into the creek, stopping that. Can we do that? Can we even consider that?
Jonathan, you wanna look at that sometime, about maybe a chain link fence along the edge of the creek there? Cause that creek is kinda deep over there. Glenwood is a pocket park, for those of you that may not know. It's not much bigger than the second floor of this building, but it has basketball and playground equipment, is that right?
Nice little one.
Yeah, it's a nice little neighborhood park.
Okay. But getting back to these things, I know, can we give them something, some kind of hope to help them on that side, especially the elders side? I'm not talking about the gym and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to get into that. But can we not help?
Good, because that's a big component of that over there.
Well-
And ownership in that structure, we've offered to find grant money and spend millions on that, and they can't agree on who owns it and who's gonna run it and what's gonna happen to the revenues from it.
Well, that's one reason, Mr. Moffett, that I don't want to get involved in that part of that.
That's what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
There's opportunities not being taken.
Right, but I'm saying in general, that the retirement part of it, that needs some help.
The, East Side Homes.
Right.
That you're talking about, across the parking lot from the gym. And that is a, private operation, private nonprofit. They have their own board. And they are in charge of maintaining that property and renting those apartments, to the people that qualify to live there.
Right.
All seniors.
Right,
And there again, we've tried to figure out a way to maintain that, help them maintain that building. It's an old school building, and it's not in the best shape, and the cash flow doesn't always support what needs to be done there. So we've made some suggestions on how to work around that, and we can't seem to make a lot of progress there either. But we generally, and I'm sorry, we generally do not engage in give and take conversations during the public comment period. You tell us what you've got on your mind. We ask our staff to look at it, certain things, and we try to do what we can. And so we generally don't sit here and have a give and take
I
conversation.
understand that. But I'm gonna get back to this one thing, and then I'm gonna leave. I gotta go. I gotta get some sleep. I want y'all to take a real look at this homeless problem here in Asheboro. I mean, a real clear look. Look in the mirror, because it could be either one of us out there on that bench. Not just them. We could be in that situation. But some reason we're not there because we made better choices. But these people have made some choices that, hey, they don't know where they're coming or going. But the thing of it is, we have the resources, and I think we have the money to help these people, help them in a good way, not in a bad way. And, you know, just getting out and just talking to these people will make, you'll see. And I talked to a young lady for about an hour, and I kind of got some mixed feelings about the whole situation. But the thing of it is, when she came out and started talking to me, it was like she had food and she was giving it to them. And she didn't, you know, and that kind of, I said, well, good for you. She said, well, I can't get a job because of my history. I said, you can get a job, sweetie. You just got to apply yourself. Somebody will give you the opportunity to get a job. And most of these people will work, I think. But the ones that's living over here behind the Tractor Supply and other places, have you been back there? Yep. It's a city. It's a city in the woods. They got tents. They got everything.
We have bigger camps than that.
Oh, I know where every one of them are. I have been to visit them. But the thing of it is, Mayor, Council, we got to do something. At least consider it. I'm not here trying to jump down your throat, but we got to do better than what we're doing. And I know we can do better. Asheboro's growing. And it's going to be a big city one of these days. I mean, a big city. And I don't think that we are ready for what's getting ready to happen. And it's coming quicker than we can ever imagine.
You're right about that.
Because I'm seeing stuff in Winston-Salem's, it's maybe 5 times as big as we are. And I see crime every day. We got it in the cemeteries and everywhere. And I was here on Saturday, and I seen young men sitting in a vehicle smoking dope. And I said, well, can you get a job? And he's like, well, my wife just died. Don't use that as a crutch. Do better, you know. But that's the kind of mentality we have. But I know we got some people that's mental, but can we get them some help or try to get in? I'm going to sit down. I'm going to go. I challenge everyone on this board that I'm talking to tonight, go out and talk to them. Just go out and talk to them. You dealt with them. You know, you dealt with him. I want y'all to deal with it. Just go out and talk to them and see what you think of it. And then come back and talk beyond each other and see what kind of solution you can come up with. Thank you for your time. And I got to go, man. I'm sleepy.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Come on up, Mr. Maldonado.
Hello, my name is Alan Maldonado. I'm a small business owner. And I have a business in house in Gulf Street. Okay, I don't know if someone here speak Spanish and English.
I do.
Can you help me to interpreter better my questions? I have some questions. I'm not looking for answers. Just I have some questions. I want to leave my questions here.
I speak Spanish and English, but I'm not a legal translator.
It's okay.
Is that something the board wants me to do?
Can you proceed, and then we'll see if you need help, because it's unfair to ask someone who's didn't come prepared to translate. She's
Okay.
not certified to do that.
My first question is, what kind of project you have, and they are coming real projects? They can impact the community, everyone, not just few groups, everyone. The second question I have, what kind opportunities for better job and better school you have on project? What kind of developments or project you have for better housing developments here in Asheboro? Let's talk about the pools and parks in Asheboro. The only good park we have here in Asheboro is here in downtown. The other parks looks really bad. Let's talk about streets and sidewalks. We don't have sidewalks in Asheboro. Asheboro was founded in 1796. And these sidewalks we have in Asheboro, most is in really bad condition. I walk in Asheboro. If you walk in Dixie Drive to shopping, you have to walk on the grass. It's not fair. People have to walk on the grass like animals. We have to create or have a better project for sidewalk on Dixie Drive and another streets close to downtown. I want to ask about the police station. The police station is very old and it's very small. I think the police station needs more funds, more money to have more security. Asheboro is growing, and I agree with the gentleman, he left. We have a lot of problems with homeless. The homeless people walking inside to my parking lot. So one day I listened in one program, Citizens Academy, somebody say we don't want to grow because we don't want the same problems like Charlotte, Raleigh, Greensboro have with homeless. We have the same problem. And Asheboro is growing, but it's growing because it's private investments. It's not projects coming from the city. It's private investment, small business owners like myself. Another question I have, why Asheboro don't have diversity on events on the Bicentennial Park? We have Latinos, we have Asians, we have Arabic people, and we don't have diversity on events.
Well, let me answer that very quickly. Tomorrow night, the Mariachi Festival starts Friday night, tomorrow night in the Sunset Theater, and Saturday, there's half a dozen mariachi bands playing in Bicentennial Park free.
Cinco de Mayo,
Why do you celebrate Cinco de Mayo? Why?
because it's tomorrow's Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, but why you celebrate Cinco de Mayo?
Why do I?
Yeah, celebrate.
Because we have a diverse population that would like for us to do something besides beach music.
Okay,
So we-
Half of my employees are Hispanic, and
but Cinco de Mayo is,
I like them.
is one conflict between French and Mexico. But it's okay.
We
I
have.
like
We have
parties.
diversity just like you're talking about.
okay.
And we're trying to offer a little
it's-
bit for other
it's-
cultures.
It's nothing related between United States and Mexico. We like to celebrate something together, something we can unite United States and Mexico.
And it's sort of like Day of the Dead.
Yeah,
Well, kind of like Mardi Gras.
okay.
You
But we
I'm
can,
not French, but I go there.
we can do more than that. Why all the attention is only in this part in Sunset? We have another park, North Fayetteville Street. It's not in good shape. And we have another park,
We have 17 parks.
but only one is good, this one, because it's
That's
here.
not true.
In my
I
opinion.
beg to differ, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Everybody's got their opinion, and everybody uses parks for different things. Our parks can't be all the same thing in every park. We have disc golf in North Asheboro. We have basketball and swimming in North Asheboro. Walking trail. The park we're building right now down south of town has a 1.5 mile walking trail. Pickleball, volleyball, a world-class, fully accessible playground for handicapped with wheelchair accessibility. Soccer.
You're talking about the
A
sport.
dog park, when we open it, will have a dog park. So each individual park is tailored a little bit differently. We can't put the same thing in every park because some of our parks are, as we talked about, Glenwood's probably a half acre and Zoo City is 85 acres. North Asheboro is what, Jonathan, 23 acres? Roughly 23 acres. We have 2 swimming pools. We have the rec center over here that came online a couple of years ago that has indoor swimming and pickleball and recreational basketball and fitness classes. Well, each of our parks is programmed a little differently.
Okay.
And some of them are older. We have been spending some time and money on Fraser Park, which is our oldest park. We find this is a problem. We found that our homeless population were living in the bathroom at Fraser Park. We have automatic door locks that lock at 9 o'clock. They figured out how to disable those locks so they wouldn't lock. And when we fixed them, they would disable them again. They were propping the door open. We found that they had a drop cord running from the Coke machine into the bathroom to charge their telephones and run a little fan. And they were sleeping in the bathrooms. So just in the last 4 or 5 months, we've started policing the parks at 9 o'clock. We have a police officer that goes around and locks every bathroom because of use. And so we're not perfect, but
Nobody's perfect.
we are trying to program each of these parks to fit the neighborhood a little bit, to be a little bit different. So if you got basketball over here, you might not have basketball down at the next one. I can tell you this about basketball. We took we get a lot of grief. We get criticism for taking basketball out of Memorial Park over by the swimming pool because we had a stabbing, a shooting, and all kinds of gambling, and the little kids couldn't play because the older kids were taking over the court, and that's where the stabbings and the shootings and the gambling was taking place. The people next door, the American Legion Hall next door, asked us to take it out because it was getting unsafe for their members. So we have lots of difficulties that all kind of tie into what you're telling us.
I want to know what happened with the COVID relief money and why this money was used to finish the sport complex. And now the sport complex, they have a partnership with the YMCA.
Not yet.
I think the YMCA is a private company. It's private. And that facility, the sport complex, was building with taxpayers' money.
I think you have misinformation there.
Well,
I want to make my question,
Yeah.
and I leave.
I have the same
I want to
question.
sit in my question here. The another question I have is, what kind of project you have for the future generations? We have to build better town for the future generations. The young guys don't have nothing to do here. We don't have attractions for young kids. Everybody go to another cities. And I don't want to see this, I don't want to say this, but young guys like between 16 to 25, they don't have good opinion about our town. We don't build nothing for future generations. And why all the attention is just in some areas? We have Martin Luther King. It's very close to downtown. We have a lot of problems in that area for a long time. Why? Every time with the city council members or the people working for the community, running on elections, just ask for votes. And I never see any one of this, just when I call to talk. Why don't go to different neighborhoods and knock the doors and ask, what kind of problem do you have in your neighborhood? How can I help you?
I think that's called our neighborhood community watch. And we
But
have
the community
meetings.
watch is different. I participate in that.
Listen to me. We have meetings, quarterly meetings, and we all attend those meetings at various schedules.
Yeah, but I'm asking
There's
about,
9 of them around the town.
I see one slogan or one sign on election time. I can't remember who do that. But they say, leadership. For me, leadership is somebody come to the people and work with the people.
We tell them we have the meetings and we attend.
But I want to see someday, sometime, start going to the neighborhoods and ask the people in neighborhoods, what kind of problems you have?
Have you ever been to one of the annual community night out?
No, sir.
Well, that's in August and it's citywide and it's attended by thousands.
Yeah, but the people,
In each neighborhood,
Let's-
and we
let's
all
back up.
tour the whole city and
We,
visit each
we,
room.
we're not gonna get anywhere. We're not gonna solve these problems tonight, but let's back up. What type of things would you have us, that you would like to see us do for this age group you're talking about, the younger people?
I don't know, activities for teenagers, maybe some club for kids
We have
with
the
no
marches.
drinks, no alcohol. Organize something for kids, like a dancing nights for kids and, or for families, things like that. More activities for young guys. Young guys now get involved in more addictions. We have a lot of overdoses, a lot.
No kidding. We administer occasion, we have administered Narcan in the morning and gone back in the afternoon to the same person for another overdose. It's just, I wish I knew what that answer was.
I know we have a lot of problems. No one is perfect, nobody's perfect, but I think we can make better decisions and start thinking about the future for the generation coming behind.
I bet we could put a soccer park and the young men could come play soccer.
Mr. Malnado,
That is part of what we're building this 85-acre park for the activities for younger people. We're trying to meet the need of the 700 or 800 kids that are playing soccer locally, and we're trying also to attract economic development by attracting tournament play, people that will come to Asheboro, spend their money, play a tournament, stay in our motels, our restaurants, whatever, campgrounds, go to the zoo, whatever. And you'd be surprised to know that our retail sales keep going up every year. Retail sales in Randolph County keep going up, and that money goes to Raleigh and part of that tax comes back to us, and we use that in our budget. That's money we've used on Bicentennial Park, the soccer complex. We use it in our general fund budget to help keep other costs down. So when we build something like not Bicentennial, the Zoo City Park, or we have a concert out here at Bicentennial, it is all designed to attract people to our area, to share the good news of Asheboro, that it is, most people like living here. We have, the Chamber of Commerce and the people that track it can tell you that we have dozens of people every month moving here from other states, mostly retirees, not the 15-year-olds, 16, 20-year-olds, but they like living here, and they find a lot of what they're looking for here. And as the prior speaker said, it's fixing to change. You know, we're gonna grow, we need to be prepared, we're working on additional housing. We're going to talk about a 400-unit subdivision tonight that's coming to us for approval. And we've approved, in the last year, we've approved over 500 additional homes in Asheboro. And that, we're just talking Asheboro, we're not talking about Randolph County. Our purview is Asheboro.
Inside the city.
Inside the city.
Okay.
So, you know, we work at it, and I will challenge you here, just on one thing. I go to the east side, and most of the people on the east side will tell you that they've never seen the mayor over there as much as I go. I do talk to the people on the east side, and I'm afraid I've never seen you over there. So you don't know if I'm there or not.
Yeah, but I think actions is better than words.
And that's why I'm
And
over there.
last question. I read something on the program for today about add some property outside Asheboro, on Alcock Street, and
That's the subdivision.
That's
It
subdivision.
is right outside of the city, and it will, because they want water and sewer, they are proposing an annexation, so it will be in the city if we approve the
what's the
subdivision.
name of the subdivision? You don't have a name?
It does not have a name yet.
Okay, I know one subdivision outside the city is a mobile home parking area. It's inside the city, all Richland, all Humboldt, it's inside the city,
It is.
that property?
That was annexed, yes.
But that property is 8 miles outside the city.
It has city sewer, it has city services.
The sewer line going to
So
the
the
zoo
police
runs.
department, the fire department have to drive from here to there 8 miles?
Actually, in that case, no, we contract with East Side Fire Department to provide primary coverage there because it is so far. We are actually ready to start building our third fire department that the state tells us we need, and it's gonna be on Zoo Parkway.
The Todd Hill Farm is outside the city airport is outside, they're called satellite annexations, and there are a number of them.
I have some friends and customers live very close to Sioux Parkway. You know the bridge in Sioux Parkway? After you cross that bridge, I think it's outside the city.
At the bottom of the hill there,
Yeah.
before you get to Crestview Church Road,
Yeah,
yeah, that's.
One side is and one side isn't.
but it's very close
Now,
to the, very
when you
close
get
to
to
the
top
city.
of the, up the hill,
I
the
can
neighborhood
understand
on the
why-
left is in the city, and up at Crestview Church Road, we just annexed the little, where they're clearing that land on the corner of Crestview and Zoo Parkway, that's in the city.
Okay, I can understand why one property or one house very close to here, maybe a mile and a half, just few yards after the city limits, maybe quarter of the mile from here, crossing the city limits, it's outside the city. And one property, 8 miles outside the city is part of the city.
Well,
I don't know.
it's not 8 miles, but that's beside the point. But the General Assembly of North Carolina does not allow us to annex areas at will and to connect these.
Owner has to ask us to do it. We can't do it on our own.
We respond to voluntary annexations and then infill as these responses come, and that's all the state of North Carolina allows. Or we would grow in a different manner, different direction like we used to
And if you,
15, 20 years
give you a
ago.
little more history, so you can, when you see a map of Asheboro, on the wall, big map of Asheboro.
Yeah, I see
There's
the map.
North Asheboro, and there's Asheboro. Well, it's all Asheboro now, but it's a figure eight. Looks like a figure eight. That's because back in 1971, North Asheboro was a separate town. Had their own sewer and water. And in 71, they were annexed, they came and asked the city to annex them. So that is why that big round area on North Fayetteville and up there, North Asheboro is in the city. And then you come on down to, say, C4 Church,
Or Okie Mountain.
Okie Mountain, C4 Church.
I don't know if it's 500,000 feet away.
It's a quarter mile wide because it was two towns joined together in 1971.
But the property we're talking about is 8 miles outside the city. It's a mobile home parking area, right?
Yeah. We're familiar, we annexed
Yeah.
it.
So why add a mobile home
annexed it
parking
because
area?
it
We
had
have a lot of
city
things to
service.
fix here in Asheboro.
All right, I'm sorry.
Why add that property to the city when we have a lot of problems to fix here in Asheboro? When we don't have the capacity to fix the problems and add when we have fixed everything inside.
If you don't grow, you die. We are looking to grow the city. We annex when we have an opportunity. The 400-unit subdivision is coming to us tonight. They're right outside the city limits now, but they want water and sewer, and our policy is if they want water and sewer, they will be annexed.
Okay. Okay.
That's how we grow, Alan, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
That's
okay.
just-
I totally understand. Thank you for the time, and I come with all my respect to make my question, okay? Thank you.
Debbie, can you do the blinds?
Okay, anybody else? Next. Mr. Gerald, Mayor Gerald.
If I had looked at the agenda, I probably wouldn't have come tonight,
It's not too late.
because I know this won't be, this will be brief.
Are you here now?
I know it's some positive notes. And to make a suggestion, you may want to put a time limit on public comments.
We've never needed to, but we may be getting to that point.
Yeah, I think you probably are. But anyway, since I'm,
You're on the clock.
since I'm,
Got a motion?
Do we have a motion?
since I'm up here, I must speak a couple of words. But on behalf of our family, rather than, they wanted me to express this to the council members and rather to do it individually. Timing was great for the meeting, since we just had the groundbreaking last Saturday. So I said, I'm gonna go up and tell the council, express our deep appreciation for the wonderful groundbreaking and dedication that we had last Saturday. I want to commend Trevor, Justin, his staff, all the council members for all the time and effort that they put into this to make it a first-class event. And I was talking to a lady today who was a big supporter of the garden, in fact, in the last 3 hours. And she said, you know, I was a little bit skeptical about the groundbreaking because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know whether it would be done to a high level or not, and I was really skeptical. But says, I want to tell you, it was a classic, just her words, it was a classical event. And so a lot of people have told me the same thing, that it took a lot of work, a lot of organization to make it happen, and y'all did. And we just want to say thank you very much from my heart. Thank you.
Mayor Gerald, nobody's as grateful for that garden as we are to you for donating that land. And Saturday was a nice event, and I will tell everybody in this room that Trevor Nuttall and his staff put that together.
A lot of work went into it.
It was well done, and Trevor did a super job.
Professional job.
He sat up many nights working on it too, I know that.
Yeah. Thank you, Trevor. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mayor, we may be at the point where we need to set a time limit, you know, the county does, but most nights we don't have anybody. But
That would
if,
fall within the limit. That would fall within the limit.
yeah, so, you know, we'll see how it continues to go, and if it becomes the norm, we'll probably set a cap on the time allowed.
As long as we don't have a mandatory minimum, Mayor, we're good.
All right, nobody else? All right, I appreciate those of you that spoke, and as I said earlier, we generally don't involve or engage in a give and take, but there were questions asked today that I thought needed to be answered, and especially for the leadership class, many of you here for the leadership class, you probably learned a few things tonight that you didn't know about why we do certain things or why we don't do certain things. So sometimes it's just best to go ahead and respond when the question is asked. I got criticized not too far back for saying, thank you for your comments, we'll take it under advisement. This person wanted a give and take, and we would have still been sitting here. So, can't please everybody,
And
as much as
sometimes
we try.
misinformation, you feel like you'd like to help the understanding of the matter.
Yeah.
I felt like I failed miserably, but aside from that,
Well, I was confused.
it's a challenging matter.
All right, we'll move on with the agenda. In old business, item 4, for those of you that have a copy of the agenda, I will reopen, or continue-
Reopen.
Reopen.
Yep.
The
Continue it.
legislative hearing on case number RZ 23-03. Trevor Nuttall will give us the initial testimony concerning the application to rezone property on US Highway 64 East. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a continuation of the hearing that was opened at the April 6th meeting. It does involve a request to rezone approximately 1.4 acres on Highway 64 East to B2 General Commercial. There are no conditions or uses proposed with this request. If approved, the property could be developed for any use permitted in the B2 district, subject to compliance with all standards of the city code. The applicant on this request is the property owner, Philip Ragsdale. We're looking at, again, property on Highway 64 East between 2307 and 2333, Highway 64 East. This is a request to take the property from a low-density R40 residential district to a general commercial B2 district. There's one county PIN involved. Currently, the property is undeveloped. This is an overview map with the subject parcel outlined in blue. The red areas identify existing commercial zoning within the city's zoning jurisdiction. The purple denotes industrial land that's within the city's land use jurisdiction. The white areas identify property that's outside of the city's zoning jurisdiction and under the purview of Randolph County. I will note that this map, there is dots all throughout this map, which identifies this as outside of the city limits, but within our extraterritorial planning jurisdiction. So this is strictly zone property that is within city land use jurisdiction, including the subject parcel. As we look a little closer, the subject parcel is identified by the letter A. Any surrounding property that has a letter is considered an adjoining property owner and would have received a first-class mailing about this hearing tonight. The staff has also posted the property and advertised this matter in the newspaper as required by state law. So you can see an existing area of R40 residential, kind of surrounded by what continues to be a developing area of commercial, and as you go further east, some industrial zoning. This is a topographic and utility map for the area. There is a little bit of slope on the property, kind of in the southeast corner, and as you move to the northwest, you'll see that there is a 12-inch water line that goes out Highway 64 East and is available to the property. The city presently does not have any sewer service available to this area. This is an aerial map. It's got a little bit of age on it, but gives you an idea of the development pattern for the area. Again, we have several surrounding properties that are already zoned B2 commercial, which again is what is requested here this evening. For many properties, the conversion from residential to commercial has not yet happened, but the zoning has been put in place to allow that conversion in the future. But you can see James River Equipment off to the right there, to the top of the image, and we've got some other commercial uses within the vicinity: Heritage Housing, York Auto Sales, Durabuilt, accessory buildings. It's kind of all in this sector along Highway 64. This is an oblique photograph, just giving you a little bit of a different angle of the area and a different sense of how the area presently is developed. This is a view of looking at the subject property from Highway 64 east. It is presently wooded. This is a different vantage point from Highway 64 east. This view, we are looking east along Highway 64 and then west along Highway 64. As we turn to the staff analysis, the property is located outside of the city limits. As I said, it is within the city's extraterritorial planning jurisdiction. We do have city water available to the property. Public sewer is a good distance away, about 4,300 feet west of this parcel. The city classifies Highway 64 as a state-maintained boulevard. That is a category of major thoroughfare. The bypass with Highway 64 is approximately 1/2 mile to the east. The ordinance describes the requested district as one intended to serve the convenience goods, shoppers' goods, retail and service needs of the motoring public. District should always be located with access to a minor thoroughfare or higher classification, never local streets. Again, this request is situated on a boulevard or a major thoroughfare. Again, this is a request for a general district. There's no specific uses proposed at this time. There's not a site-specific development plan. If the request is approved, the staff would review those details at a later time and ensure compliance with the city code. As we look at the city's long-range plans and land development plan for guidance, this area is designated and has been designated for a good while as an employment center. It's intended to integrate a mixture of commercial, office, and institutional, industrial, and open space uses with sidewalks, street trees, on-street parking, open space. And that's really intended as these utilities come online for the area. That is what the plan would envision to see in this area. It's also a economic development area by our growth strategy map. So it does have prime access to a major thoroughfare, and there's a high potential with utilities, when utilities become present, of economic development potential. We point out at this point that along with other zoning requirements, should this request be approved, the staff would be reviewing plans that likely would require sidewalk construction as part of any development of the property. I mentioned the land use plan recommendations just earlier. This is the map that identifies the employment center designation for this property and properties further east. The red areas are more traditional commercial type of land use recommendations. And so you see this is right on the edge of what we foresee to be an employment center area that would benefit from access to the bypass. As we look at specific goals and policies from the city's land development plan for guidance, we find that there are 6 that we believe are supportive of this request. 2 tend to be on the more negative side of the application, but overall, approval of this request would continue the corridor's transition to future non-residential development as the plan first envisioned 20 years ago. The area continues to be prepped for development that would align with the plan's designations and recommendations. And as I said, that has been ongoing for a number of years. There are still residentially zoned properties and uses in the vicinity, but the area of commercial and industrial zoning continues to expand. Again, one factor that limits the current economic development potential for this area is the lack of public sewer. But as you know, we continue to evaluate options that might be available to bring public sewer to this area. Currently, there is no active project happening, but there is a lot of conversations ongoing about how to implement that infrastructure. For those reasons I've mentioned, we do recommend approval of this application here this evening. The planning board likewise sends a favorable recommendation with this application. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Question? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone in the room that would like to address the council on this request?
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'm H.R. Gallimore. I represent with Remax Central Realty, I represent the Ragsdale family. As Trevor said, they have no plans at this time. This is an area that's been in quite a bit of transition, as I think you guys would agree. We optimistically are waiting on sewer, as I know you guys are as well. This is just a request to go ahead and get this in proper compliance. We don't feel that anyone's going to build any residential homes in this corridor now or anytime in the upcoming future. So they asked me to go ahead and get it in compliance now. Not ready to get to market yet, but we may wait, they may wait a little bit on sewer as those decisions are made in the future, but they thought it was a good time to go ahead and get it in proper zoning compliance. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Not one.
Anyone else in the room that would like to address the council on this request?
Thank you for your time.
Hearing none, I will move to the deliberative phase of the discussion. Ask council for their thoughts.
Mr. Mayor, I'd share one thought, specific but general to this particular application. I've advocated for years between the county and the city that some depth of all of 64 is commercial, and that it really ought to be zoned that way, and the housing become existing non-conforming, as opposed to doing this one parcel at a time. We looked at Cox Street that way, and, I mean, because it's woefully obvious that it's not housing, but that's not the matter
No
for
doubt.
today, but I thought it was a good opportunity to bring up one of my favorite drums to be.
No doubt that this is commercial.
I'll just say here.
Anybody else?
Well, Mayor, based on this, this particular property, I moved it, based on the consistency statement, offered by staff, that we adopt a consistency statement and approve the request.
I have a motion by Mr. Bell to adopt the consistency statement and approve the rezoning request. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
We'll deal with the rest of the quarter later.
All right.
One more vote.
You have in front of you, council, the consent agenda. Is there any item on the consent agenda that you would like to remove for discussion or consideration? Anybody? All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion by Mr. Burks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Swears is the second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Mr. Sermon, Recreation Services Director Jonathan Sermon will present an ordinance amending the Recreation Services Policy Manual to allow Zoo City Social District regulations to apply to designated events at the Sunset Theater.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know how to act. I'm usually the last one on the agenda. I'm here, number 6. But anyways, you should in your packets find an ordinance that the city attorney drew up as we discussed the possibility of allowing the Sunset Theater to become take part in the Zoo City Social District. In order for that ordinance to be approved, we do have to amend the Park and Recreation Policy Manual. It is part of the city code. The two sections that we need to look at is Article 14, which directly affects the Sunset Theater and what it allows, and then Article 18 is miscellaneous provisions, which that touches how the Zoo City Social District affects city facilities. I won't go too far into depth. I'll be more happy to answer any specific questions you may have. I know you just got it and you might need time to glance at it real quick, but This all stems from a conversation that you all had at a previous council meeting to have staff start looking into the possibility of alcohol at the theater.
Jonathan?
Yes, ma'am.
The signage would, of course, change depending upon if.
Depending upon the event and if
was-
the organization that is renting the facility wants to take part in it or not.
Got
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
And I have a question or a concern, and maybe this is for Jeff, because I frequently do marketing for some of the customers who would be using this at the time. So I have a financial obligation to certain businesses that will, entertainment businesses that would use the Sunset Theater. Should I be recused from voting on this, or does that matter at this point? Because that's why I'm asking you.
At this point, I think that's too generalized of a concern for you to be recused from the vote.
Okay.
With the reason being, the way this is set up, and I'm happy, and if there's additional information I should take into account, please tell me. But the way this is set up, whoever goes there can choose or choose to participate in the Zoo City Social District, or they could choose not to. And so I don't think that that creates enough of a financial conflict for you, because they can choose either way, whether they want to participate or not. And so if they don't want to have that involved, they have the ability, when they rent the venue, to say, we don't want it involved. If they do, the way the regulations are set up, there is a operation plan that has to be developed for consumption and possession. And that gets into whether you're going to put the sign up, letting the public come in or not, with the beverages in the approved containers.
So if someone is renting a facility and they decide to participate,
Correct.
and I have an obligation with them, and they are going to make money off of that, because I'm getting money from them.
Yeah. It would be a matter, though, is I don't know that them making that decision, that's entirely up to their choice on that. You're not precluding them from going either direction they want to. And this is at an operational stage. Once the manual is approved, you have no more involvement in the decision. It's entirely up to the director, Recreation Services Director, to make sure it fits with the policy.
Okay, all right.
Now, if you have a level of discomfort and the rest of the council wants to excuse you, that always can be considered. I don't ever like to deprive an elected official from the ability to vote.
Would you feel better if you were recused?
Out of an abundance of caution, just because I could see someone coming back later and going, oh,
Do I have a motion to recuse
I
Mr.
think based
Burks?
on Mr. Burke's position, and the level of his, employment, I would, ask that he be allowed to be recused.
Have a motion by Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Ms. Heath, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Mr. Burks, you're recused. You want to leave the table?
I can if you need me to, but
I think we'll be over it before you can get out of here.
that bad knee.
All right, okay. Are there questions for Mr. Sherman? You want to go through the changes, or?
I can if you would like me to. It's basically just,
If you don't feel the need to, then we're good.
I don't think, it's pretty straightforward. We already have, if you look in section 14 for the theater, we already have two provisions already that allow alcohol. One is for nonprofit fundraising events. The other is for nonprofits to actually obtain an ABC permit and sell their own. So this is just an addition that allows for further access of the ability to have alcohol at the theater.
It looks a whole lot like more than that. But yeah.
Therefore, and where.
Well, now, the whole section 14 is like 20 pages.
Yeah, all right.
But if you look, the only highlighted part
I think it's page
is
17.
one page.
Page 17.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Okay. Questions?
So the individual group that is putting on and serving, that is up to them to make the.
They are not serving.
No, that's
You would actually get it from a licensed facility that partakes in the social district with their marked cup. They would come to the theater as our staff come, you come in and you show your ticket or whatever to the event, we would verify that you
Okay.
do have a proper
Just
marked cup.
proper entry, not service.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just buy it down the street and carry it in if so allowed.
It's up to the individual group putting on the performance, whether to participate or not.
That's correct.
We've gone all the way around her elbow, get right back to brown bagging.
Subject to your final approval.
Yes, when they fill out their rental form, they have to present to me a plan of what they want to do. If I feel that it is within the policy manual, then I can approve it.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move we adopt the ordinance amending Article 14 and 18 in Cultural and Recreation Services Policy Manual by reference.
Have a motion to adopt these changes by reference. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Heath. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
You, sir.
Mr. O'Hara, YMCA Executive Director, Patrick O'Hara. You got you're gonna show us some Zoo City Sportsplex logos.
I'm gonna do more than that. I'm gonna do that and a little bit more. Just wanna talk about, it is a great time to be here in Asheboro. Think about it. The Toyota plant's coming, what's happening at the zoo, Acme McCrary, what's going on up there. We're gonna have a beautiful ball field. And to me, the jewel of all this that's happening is the sports complex. It's been 7 years since David and I and John got together, and we had a sit-down conversation about the beginning of the sports complex. And they asked me as a nonprofit, I am not a private institution, I want you to know that. But as a nonprofit, they asked, hey, let's do this thing together. And the reason why is because our soccer program, we're the only one that we're doing in soccer, and we do a good job with that. We just finished our fundraiser at the YMCA and did a good job with that. The three things that David and John asked me to do, they said, first, you take care of your community. Take care of the people in the community. The second was, let's get other cities around North Carolina to visit. Let's get them to look at Asheboro, to go to downtown Asheboro, to go to our attractions. And the third was, be the best complex in the Southeast. Get other states to come and visit us. And that's something that David and John and I have always talked about. Well, this is what's happened. Brochure's been developed. We have gone to civic clubs. I've talked to, I was counting up, and I lost count after 23 civic clubs that either myself or John and I went and talked to. The YMCA helped raise funds with the Timken Foundation, the Armfield Foundation. The state of North Carolina, we were able to fill out an application, get a $300,000 grant for the playground at the place. And then we went to a bunch of individuals through the Rotary, where we got all the Rotaries to give over $100,000 where they have their field named after them. During that time, I also designated 2 of my staff members to concentrate on his membership and marketing. I took membership away, and he's my marketing. So part of his job is to help get that word out for the sports complex, and the other thing is to help with the why. If you remember, we had that the VIP meeting in October of last year, where everybody was there. We opened it up, but also that's when we gave the check to the city for the $300,000. You've gotten your invitations about our branding that we're doing May 25th of this month. And what that is, we've got newspapers coming, we got TVs coming, we've got people who write for magazines are coming. That's going to get us out into not just Randolph County and Asheboro, but get us out to the state, get us out to the Southeast. Some other, one of the things that Nick has been doing is working with Octave, and Octave is a local marketing place that is doing marketing they want to do this for the community. So they came to us, and we've been doing a lot of marketing with Octum. And they're doing everything free. They're doing this for the city and for the YMCA. One of the things that they've come up with is the logo. And I'm going to
Thank you.
You're not supposed to see this until May 25th, but you guys, I'm showing it to you. Okay? This is a beautiful logo. Took a lot of time. We're talking about there was 8 to 10 meetings of different logos that we looked at, and that to me, they're the doctors, we were the patients. They know exactly what marketing, for this, at this time at 2023. So that's a beautiful logo. Can you imagine it on shirts, on employee shirts? Can you imagine it on if we were selling T-shirts and somebody was down in Daytona, Florida, and they saw that logo? That's the kind of thing that's important, is that people start recognizing Asheboro, North Carolina. Asheboro, North Carolina. That's where I want to go. The second staff person that I changed around was Joe Torrey. And Joe has been taking phone calls as a director. I call him, he's the director of the sports complex in the sense of taking phone calls, taking rentals. And what I mean by that is we've been getting phone calls ever since John and I were on the TV over a year ago. And we're getting them from different places. Asheboro Youth, now these are groups that have already talked to us. Asheboro Youth Football, they want to use the fields. There is a group who raise money for disabled veterans. They want to do a football combine there. Local high school has been talking to us. Sand Hill Lacrosse. We've been talking to sand volleyball organizations that do tournaments and stuff. We've been talking to people who have pickleball associations. They want to do tournaments. And then we're getting phone calls all the time about adult rental of the fields so that they can do flag football, that they can do kickball, and that they can do ultimate frisbee. Now, that was just things on the outside. We keep on calling it a soccer complex, and soccer's a very big part, but that's not everything. But this is what we've gotten from soccer in the last year and a half to 2 years. The Asheboro City Football Club, which is your challenge football, soccer team. The YMCA is now directing that. We've gone from 3 teams to 5 teams. We had our first girls challenge soccer team for the first time in 4 years. They will be playing their games, practices out there. Also, Pfeiffer University, they've contacted Joe. They want to come out here and do clinics for the kids, for our children. They also want to utilize the fields if it rains and their fields are underwater. They want to do some games out here. They want to do 1 to 3 games out here. So imagine having a university having their regular season games out here. Impact Soccer. Now this is a soccer association east of Raleigh. They play teams throughout the whole state of North Carolina. Well, one of the teams that they play is from Asheville. That's a long drive. From east of Raleigh to Asheville, as we know. They want to play their games here in Asheboro because we are in the middle of the state. That is such a great thing for us. So they want to play their games here so that people don't have to travel as far. North Carolina Youth Soccer Association. Ever since David and I and John talked, I called their president up. I have a great relationship with them. They want to do Olympic player development down here. Starts on Friday, ends on Sunday. They're saying over 1,000 children will come. 1,000 children, they'll come twice a year. Now, if you look at that 1,000 children, you're looking at parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters. Imagine what they're going to do in this city. Fusion Soccer, their association has come to us, and they've talked to us about doing tournaments and stuff. We have 2 professional teams that want to come down here and start doing clinics. They want to get the word out. One is Carolina Core. They're a brand-new professional team that's going to start in High Point. They're going to be playing in their stadium. They hope to have a place soon, but they're going to be playing in the stadium. They want to come down here, get the word out. And then, of course, we got Charlotte FC, and that is our professional soccer team here in North Carolina that talks to Joe all the time. The one thing that you need to remember, and so I've talked to you so much about soccer and the organizations. People are coming to you guys, or I don't know, but soccer associations are going to be calling you up, and they're going to be wanting to do their own thing down here. And I'm telling you guys, I know it for a fact, they will take over our soccer program. We have 750 children in our recreation program, 750. We have close to 200 in our challenge soccer. Almost 1,000 kids play per season. That's not one season, but 2 seasons. 1,000 children. These other soccer associations, they will come down. They will undercut our price. And then all of a sudden, in 2 to 3 years, when parents go to them and not us, they will charge them. They average about $265. So can you imagine somebody who's paying $50 and all of a sudden a rec soccer has to pay $265? But also, a lot of soccer associations, if you play for them, you can't play high school. Can't play for your high school team. By God, look how good Asheboro is. Look how good Southwest is. You know, we have kids from Trinity playing in our group here. I mean, our high school soccer teams, boys and girls, are very good. I'm going to say this in conclusion. I think what we have here is a jewel. In fact, I know it is. Whatever we need to do to keep this thing going, the momentum's there. Let's keep it going. Let's continue keeping going. I've explained to you about, you know, and I was listening to the 2 gentlemen up front, and I know the complex was brought up. Think about what I just told you about all the revenue that would be coming in here. And it will take, you know, with extra money, you guys will be able to help everybody. And I hope we do become perfect one day when your meetings are only 5 minutes. I don't know if that will ever happen, but I do hope that happens. And one thing that this is going to do, and we're going to do it together with the city recreation department and us, we will put heads in beds and butts in seats. So I hope you like the logo. It's beautiful. Please come out May 25th, and you know, let's show people. You know, let's start showing people what we have here.
I fully expect when you move your local soccer program out there from the Y, and people don't have to park on the shoulder of the road or fight for a parking place, that 800 will go to 1,000 overnight. More parents will want their kids playing in that program because of the facility.
I agree.
I'm hearing from people all over the state anyway about what they've heard we're building, and we've still got some work to do, another 3 or 4 months probably, before the contractor is actually ready to turn it over to us. We're having an issue at the moment you may know about, but every evening about 5:30, 6 o'clock, there's a couple dozen kids crawling under the fence.
Yep.
And playing out there. They're dragging the goal out through the mud out onto the field, and they took the gate. The gate going into the playground was padlocked because it's not open to the public
Right.
yet. They took the hinges, the bolts out of the hinges so they could lift the gate off and use the playground. And a little 5-year-old girl was down there, with her daddy looking at the work, and she grabbed that gate and it fell. Now, it fell away from her and not on her, but it could have just as easily fallen on her. Yeah. And, so our police are patrolling the park now. We've got Randy Tedder over at, the, Crossroads Rest and Retirement said they're parking over there and going across the road and crawling under the fence. They're parking down there on Walden Road, and we found the path going from Terabella, the nursing home up there on the hill, down through the woods to the park. And had a report last week of looked like a grandfather and a grandmother taking 3 little kids down to the playground and moving that gate and going in there and playing. So, people are chomping at the bit is part of my point. But the other point is, it's still a construction site. We've got a lot of work to do. The builder still has a liability because he's not turned it over to us, and we need to stop that. And I can tell you that we will probably prosecute people for trespassing, and we've got it posted, and vandalism if we catch them doing it. I've been down there the last 5 nights myself. Tonight's the first night I hadn't been in 5 days. And I got there and there were 13 kids playing on field 2. They saw me drive up and park at the gate, and by the time the police got there, they disappeared down through the woods. Yeah. So we've got to be diligent that we protect what we've got out there, and that when the contractor's finished and whatnot, that we're not dealing with something that's been vandalized or
Tore up, yeah.
So, pass the word. It's not open and nobody's supposed to be out there.
Well, and it's funny you said that. One of the things that Joe and I have been doing for 2 years is that people will call us up and they'll go, love those fields. Why can't we get on them? Literally, we have been cursed at. We've been threatened. You know, so we're taking that off of you guys. I want you to know that.
I think it's more in addition to, but go ahead.
Yeah. But you know, it's something that people are very excited about it coming, but people are just not patient. And, you know, like our challenge soccer, you know, they can't understand. I'm going, guys, it's coming. It's going to be there. You know, John came in and gave a great talk, and they just, and I will tell you, once we do open up, we have been told by kids who have left our program to go to other soccer associations, they would come back. So that's on what you talked about.
We've got a lot of rules and details to work out before we get open. One of the things that popped into my mind is this week, if you have a tournament down there and there's 200 or 300 people down there and people are paying to get in with their car or how y'all charge for that. Somebody wants to go down and use a dog park or walk on the trail, or there's a huge fitness pad that's being built down there.
Yeah.
That
Field 2.
an outdoor gym is what it really is, and the playground. When I say world-class playground, it really is. Got foam under it, wheelchair accessible. It's got everything, and its own bathroom.
Need shade.
Huh?
Got our shade.
And we need to, one of the things that, Michael, we need some shade sails over that playground. And probably something you've looked at, but.
I've sent pictures of our playground to other YMCA's throughout the North Carolina. They're all very envious of what we're doing, guys. We're very envious. All these directors say, God, I wish I had that complex that what your city is doing. So, yeah,
Well, we got a ways to go.
we got a ways to go, but
We got a lot of details to work out.
we can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
We can, and it's been a long time coming. We've talked about it for 12 years, and,
Yep.
when did we buy that property?
06,
10 or 12 years ago?
06.
That'll be
06.
17 years.
So, we appreciate
I had
you
dark
being
hair and a
here
sports
tonight.
car.
I think we all like the logo. You're right, that's gonna look good.
It's going to look very professional.
Gonna look good on T-shirts and.
Yeah. I hope we do get a marquee out there, guys. I really do. You know, on that thing, the digital thing, we can show where the restaurants are, where the hotels are, where the attractions are. We, you know, that would be a huge asset.
We need to find somebody to pay for the marquee.
I'd love to have a water tower softball.
I've got somebody that's willing to pay for half of it. So,
All right,
Okay.
well, any questions of Patrick? I know you brought some of your backup tonight.
I just brought Joe with me. I just, so,
If anyone has any other detailed questions.
yeah.
Okay, well,
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Patrick.
Thank you.
Mr. Nuttall, item 8A, resolution approving for purposes of satisfying IRS Code Section 147-F, issuance of multifamily housing revenue bonds.
Thank you, Mayor. The council has been requested to consider approving a resolution in your packets that would allow the issuance of multifamily housing revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $10.79 million. The issuance would be by the Housing Authority. The proceeds would finance acquisition and rehabilitation of the Summit Apartments located at 156 East Academy Street, which consists of 101 dwelling units, primarily for seniors. Redwood Housing will be the developer on the project, and McGuire Woods is the bond counsel who is involved on this project. Mr. Jim Twitty is present here this evening, and I will shortly turn it over to Mr. Twitty. The Housing Authority held a public hearing on the question of the bond issuance at a public hearing on April 19th. It's important to note that if the resolution is approved, the bonds will not represent a debt of the city or the Housing Authority or a pledge of the city's faith and credit or taxing power. The bonds also will not affect the city's debt limit or debt ratios, and neither the city nor the Housing Authority would have any obligation to make payments on the bonds. The developer would be solely responsible for repaying the bonds. The resolution presented is required under the federal tax code, which stipulates that the elected legislative body, the city council, must approve of the issuance of the bonds since the Housing Authority members are appointed by you and because the proposed project is located within the city's jurisdiction. So for those reasons, the adoption of the resolution is requested here this evening. And again, it is to satisfy the requirements of the federal tax code. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Twitty at this point to make any remarks.
Thank you, Trevor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and chair members. Trevor pretty well covered. I think the main purpose of this resolution that's in front of you is to just to satisfy the tax code's purposes. As Trevor said, this is by no means the money or the debt of the city or of the Housing Authority. The purpose of the resolution is purely just to satisfy the tax code purposes. But I'm happy to answer any questions about the bonds, about the how that process works. And we also have Matt Kaufman here from the developer who can answer any questions about the project, if you have any specific questions about the project.
Mr. Noddle, you still in here?
Yes, sir.
I understand nobody spoke at the public hearing.
That's correct. I did attend the public hearing at the Housing Authority, and there was.
You didn't speak either.
I did not, no, sir.
We got that
I was-
report.
I was there as an observer, yes, sir.
This information is consistent with the briefing that the Housing Authority provided us last night. That's right.
All right, any questions here? If you don't have anything else you'd like to share with us, then we'll move on.
What kind of timeline are we talking about here? Is this pretty soon, or?
Matt, do you know the?
Sure, so the transaction will close, end of, July, and construction will start, within 30 days, and it's going to be a rehab, that's gonna be occupied, so residents will be nobody is gonna permanently relocate it, and it'll take about 12 months, to finish that rehabilitation of the property.
And where will people be relocated?
So about half the residents, while their apartments are being relocated, being renovated, will be relocated to, other apartment complexes in the area. And the developer will be paying the costs of all that, but we haven't identified the specific, complexes, where folks will be relocated.
So how many people per month would be relocated?
Probably around 5 tenants per month would be relocated. So we've identified 5 apartments in the local community that could serve as host units for folks while they're out of their units.
Most of these apartments, single inhabitants, the ones you'll be remodeling. So you're just gonna take somebody and move them out for the construction period to one of these 5 you just mentioned, and move them back in when their unit's finished, and you'll be upgrading all the units in the building over a period of, what'd you say?
12 months.
Okay, great. Well, as most of the council knows, and you guys probably know too, that particular property is a sore subject here in town. Our fire department has some real issues. The council hears about these issues, and unfortunately, we can't do anything because it's private property and, other than minimum code. But we welcome this opportunity to get that building rehabbed. And, so, unless there are any other questions, I'll call for a motion.
Mayor, I move we adopt a resolution approving the issuance of housing revenue bonds by reference.
Have a motion to approve this request by reference, by Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item, B is, you have a report on Saturday's event at the David and Pauline Gerald Center City Garden.
I do a couple of items related to the garden, Mayor.
Guys,
Thank you. As you all know, we had a really terrific ceremony this past Saturday for the garden. I'm going to recap that last. I first wanted to share with the council the findings of an evaluation that we asked Summey Engineering to perform on the structure that's located at 205 South Cox Street, that's right next to the police department. That structure sits on the grounds that will be transformed into the garden. The purpose of the evaluation by Summey Engineering was to provide us with information on the real viability of converting this former residence into restrooms, and some limited public space to be used in conjunction with the garden. We requested this study after receiving strong and consistent opinions and support for saving and reusing this structure at the public workshop that we had at the library related to the master plan for the garden. The engineer's report is in your packets. It highlights some of the challenges that the city will face should we decide to use this structure as part of the garden. I've only included the pictures in the presentation from that report. But the structure was built in about 1955. It's two-story. It's been added on to over time. According to the report and our own inspectors who've looked at, structurally the building is in satisfactory condition for a residential use, although there are portions of it that have been damaged by water and moisture. Looks like water has been getting into the basement, likely the roof, for some time. So there may be some damage beyond what is observable just through a non-invasive inspection that we had done. In order to use the structure in conjunction with the garden, there's going to be extensive modifications that would be necessary to meet the commercial standards of the state building code, as well as ADA accessibility requirements, which get into proper restroom layout and size, entryways being the proper width. The second floor on this structure likely would be pretty much off limits from an occupancy standpoint. As noted in the report, the structure still has original wiring. There's been some upgrades to that, but largely the electrical would need to be replaced. There would be the need for an entire HVAC rebuild on the structure. The plumbing would need to be replaced. So as you see in the report, the engineer's opinion is that while it's possible, it likely will be costly. It may not end up being the final layout and the best fit for what the city hopes to accomplish with that garden, but it is possible, and that's why we went through this process. We continue to get very strong sentiment about preserving and reusing this structure. In fact, we discussed this at the Redevelopment Commission meeting on Monday. I gave a very similar report and shared the photos and some of the challenges. The board commission felt so strongly that we should really consider taking a hard look at preserving this, that they actually adopted a motion requesting the council to continue to consider that as an option for the garden. So at this point, we're not asking for the council to take any action. This is really just for information purposes. At your June council meeting, we are lining up the final adoption of the garden's master plan. So between now and then, taking any input that the council has, as well as from the community in terms of how that plan should present, the disposition of the structure, and how do we provide restrooms for the project. So there's all kinds of different options for this structure and the garden. In June, again, we'll be back with the formal request to adopt the master plan and hopefully have an idea of what makes the most sense for the project.
Trevor, can you elaborate on, and you may not, nobody may know, what is do we think is the intended purpose of any structure whatsoever?
Sure.
In that locale, which would probably help define the feasibility of just what this structure can
Sure.
and can't be, because I'm all for restoring old cars and old buildings, but what are we trying to get to?
Absolutely. I can give it a shot, and I will then I'll defer. There's absolutely a need for bathrooms, clearly for the garden. There has been some interest, and it's not
open like, say, a Fraser Park bathroom. I mean, a park bathroom, not a event room bathroom or something.
a bathroom in some form or fashion. One option would be to do something like Fraser Park. What we've heard from the community is that I think some of the interest in preserving this is that it fits the architecture of the area. It could be incorporated into maybe a small public space that could outline the history of the property and why it became important to the city. Very small.
That was it in the beginning. It was for interpretives about native plants, the history of the site going back to the Jonathan Worth days, and for, say, a field trip, a class that might come on site, and you have
Well, as long as your
pictures and-
ADA is gonna be limited to one floor, you probably have some viability, but if you exceed that,
There's also a need for storage, obviously, and whether it would be within this structure or another structure.
basement could
The
probably. work like that.
bathrooms, originally were talked possibly about scabbing on the bathroom building to the side, say, go back, where the deck,
Replace that add-on
where the deck
sunroom and
is.
actually put a bathroom.
Where the deck is out
Yeah.
here, take that off and scab a modern bathroom that looks period,
Yeah,
that-
in order to, sort of like another structure, but that would house the modern
but,
plumbing.
yeah, new foundation and scabbed onto the side of the building so it could be accessed from inside the building and outside the building.
It does fit
either
the
way.
neighborhood. I mean, you know, if you took it down, you'd wanna put something about, looks like it back, so.
Sure.
Where you really at.
I didn't realize it was in such bad shape, but, and from the very beginning, I saw that as a good place for interpretives related to the garden, whether it be history or native plants or whatever.
Sure.
And Jennifer and I had that conversation the first time she ever came to town, and she liked the idea, but I don't think any of us knew it was in quite that sad a shape. And it was only built in 55.
That's what the available records.
Somebody asked me Saturday, and I said, probably the 30s or 40s. But it's pretty sad shape.
Maintenance is.
But it has character.
Sure.
The arched doorway, it's got, and inside it's got some character.
Sure.
The main thing you need to be looking at is condition of that veneer. I'm just looking at that lintel over that window down there at the bottom. I mean, those.
There may very well be some parts that absolutely need to come off.
You can point that back up and it'll probably be all right, but.
As I said, so we're not looking for a final decision this evening, but we wanted to get you the information and let you know that you have this opportunity for input. We hopefully will have a resolution as far as a best path forward next month.
All right, well, move on to the next part of your presentation there.
Thank you, Mayor. Real quickly, Saturday was also the first opportunity to see the early results of the archaeological surveying that was commissioned on the property. We elected to defer, again, the final drafting of that master plan until after this work was completed. And this work involved subsurface evaluation on the property. Given what we know of the property's history dating back to the 19th century, we felt it was important to be sure that any grading that we will do on this property was not going to destroy historically, culturally significant, and intact artifacts that may be out there. So the archaeologist conducted site work in April over 2 weeks. She was at the ceremony Saturday, had on display some ceramic and glass that likely dated back to the early 1900s, maybe at the latest. So there was also what appeared to be maybe some remnants of the property's former use as a farm, so maybe some agricultural related implements that she uncovered. We do expect to have the full report on the findings in the coming weeks prior to our presentation of the final master plan at your next meeting. We expect that those findings will be good news for those who are very interested in proceeding into construction. We don't expect that there's going to be findings that suggest we should do additional surveying or that we may have to rethink the layout of the garden due to something that may be intact and subsurface. So that is good news for all of us who want to get this project under construction. Lastly, just really just want to show some pictures mostly for the audience who didn't have the opportunity to be there. But I think it's fair to say there is a lot of public support for this garden. We had well over 60 attendees come out. It was really a day to show the public support, I think, for the Geralds, as well as to recognize the community members and the donors who supported the project, and certainly the Mayor Smith and the council who several years ago agreed on the need and the importance of a project and amenity like this. So even though the site was fairly wet last weekend, we did have a good number of people that chose to walk the property and hear about the different elements of the future garden. So it really was a terrific day. I want to take just a moment to publicly thank all of the departments across the city, as well as our external partners that made this day possible, such as the Master Gardeners, for instance, who were present. And if you see the landscaping bed around the sign now, that was courtesy of the Master Gardeners. I can honestly say there wasn't a city division that didn't play some role in making Saturday a success. So there's tons of people that deserve a lot of recognition and appreciation. I just want to publicly thank them. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. It was well done, and I appreciate you coordinating all of that. And it just was a nice day. The weather held off, and
Did. Got home and I actually had a little sunburn somehow. I don't know how that happened, but.
it'll be nice when we can literally break ground and start building.
Absolutely. We are shooting for this year as fast as we can.
And the COG is looking at a couple of different grants for us.
We have two, we expect to submit upwards of $700,000 of funding requests, which we feel that we have a very good chance at receiving. So we'll stay tuned for those details, working with the council on two pretty solid applications.
It's a unique project, certainly nothing we've ever done before, and it's a great opportunity, so I can't imagine we wouldn't score pretty high on it.
I agree.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
You have the planning board.
Really quickly, city code requires the planning board to provide you a report on its activities. Chairman Michael Kelly does present council with the annual report of activities thus far. This is for the fiscal year, so it's not a calendar year. We've not completed the full 12 months, obviously. But the board continues to have, on average, a pretty consistent workload each month. And I'll just say, as a group, it's a really good advisory body for the council, in my opinion, on any matters related to land use or different projects. So we're very, very much appreciative to Mr. O'Kelly and the entire board for its service to the city. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Leonard, item 9, Airport Authority Annual Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I'll be brief. Just annual report for the Asheboro Airport Authority, 2022-2023. Over the course of the year, the Asheboro Airport Authority completed the following. We held regular quarterly meetings on July 19th, 2022, October 18th, 2022, January 17th, 2022, and April 18th, 2023. I'm sorry, January 2023. We reviewed and discussed the quarterly safety committee's reports. We reviewed and discussed the status of the FBO operations, aircraft maintenance, and hangar rentals. Reviewed and discussed the museum operation and activities. Reviewed and discussed possible marketing strategies for the Asheboro Regional Airport. Reviewed and discussed the design of the new airfield lighting, which was installed this past year and is now complete. As a great construction, I'm proud to announce that construction on that began this week, May 1st. They mobilized, and they hope to do that within the next 120 days for the completion time. They are still, however, waiting on the door for delivery, and that's what's held them up so far. But they want to go ahead and get the rest of the building complete, and they'll wait for the door to arrive. In 2022, the airport sold 21,552 gallons of avgas and 15,504 gallons of Jet A. All hangars are 100% full, including the 43T hangars, and the estimated economic output for 2023 from the state for Asheboro Regional Airport is $30,230,000. Yeah, $30,230,000. If you have any questions.
That's projected for 23.
Yes,
I assume we have a wait list for the new hangar
yes,
already?
yes.
Michael, do we have two Learjets spaced out there now? We have any jets spaced out there?
So the one that was in the Klossner hangar has actually moved to Lexington, but he has expressed interest in coming back.
Is that the wings? Registered wings?
Maybe, yeah.
That's Mark Truex Jr.
And they've expressed interest in coming back. And then, actually, there's one that moved to Siler City and has expressed interest in coming back. And there's one interested in coming from Lexington.
So we don't have any jets?
There are jets there, but I'm not sure exactly what.
Not an aviator, so a jet's a jet.
There's jets there. I think one was a Citation Mustang, does that sound?
I'm using Lear as a generic term.
I think the metal roof,
Right.
metal guy, I think he's got a Mustang.
Well, and the pictures that we get are really helpful. I appreciate getting those. It just shows what's
And
going on
hey,
out there.
lately, what's the girl?
Karen.
No,
Oh, Bobby?
Bobby must not be working, hadn't had any lately. There for a while, I got one,
Couple times a week.
yeah, and now just in the last couple of months, ain't gotten any.
I'll make
Fell
sure
off her
to
list.
touch base with her to get out there and get them again. 'Cause
Well,
That
they
big helicopter.
hadn't slowed
I
down.
don't know what it was doing.
Yeah, it gives us a point of pride, and for us to see, especially when, I tell people, you've heard me say this, a big plane is one you can walk under, and we're getting more of those.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of traffic out there. So, ready to build another hangar, so they get this one done.
That's right.
And the terminal,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, Fed's gonna have to pay for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys do a good job out there.
Thank you.
The new LED lighting is pretty special, and so stay after it.
We're still having issues with, I will say, we're still having issues with fire ants, even though the new lights are supposed to be fire ant resistant. So far to date, I believe we've had about 46 or so that have been completely inundated with fire ants, and we've had to replace.
Did that put them out? Did that
Yeah.
put the lights out?
Yep. They climb up in the globe itself and basically overheat it.
How can they say they're fire ant resistant then?
Don't know.
It's just like a squirrel-resistant bird feeder.
We actually,
Same concept.
we called that in, probably about 2 months ago, thinking that it was warranty work, because we thought we wouldn't have any issues with fire ants, but it's fire ants again. So Jimmy's crews are staying on it and spraying more, trying to bait them more to get them taken care of.
Yeah, it's been nearly December since we got that picture of a big jet.
Well, it's been a while.
I'll touch base with her tomorrow.
You know, one time, a few years back, they were logging them, and they printed out a log for us. Now, that was interesting, to see who was flying in and out of here. So, that's a lot of work.
We'll get work on it.
That's a lot of work, but just a picture would be helpful. All right, thank you, Michael. You're next again. Annexation petition requesting satellite annexation of 3 parcels, at intersection of Old Cox Road and Old Humble Mill Road.
Yes, sir. This
Out
is.
there near that trailer park.
That's
You
4 miles from the city.
You should have in your packet a plat
Closer
that
to
shows this
Todd Hill.
property. We tried to keep it a little, it's a large property, but, you kind of get an idea. It really don't show up well on the screen, so, you've got a hard copy in front of you. This is for a portion of property with 3 pins containing a total of 241.401 acres and located at the intersection of Old Cox Road and Old Humble Mill Road. In the packet, in your packets, you have a resolution prepared by the city attorney, directing the city clerk to take the required actions, and staff recommends adoption of this resolution by reference.
Questions? No questions?
This is exciting.
No, we have the public hearing next week, right?
Next month.
Next month, yeah. And, so we can ask questions then, like I was just wondering about the
You
sewer
need
system
action.
out there and stuff like that.
What do you?
We on,
I didn't hear you.
Okay, we need to approve a resolution directing the city clerk to investigate the petition and a resolution setting the date for the public hearing. Is that two actions?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll entertain a motion for the resolution to investigate the annexation petition.
Mayor, I'll move that we approve the resolution directing the city clerk to investigate the annexation petition.
I have a motion by Ms. Heath. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved. Item B is the resolution setting the date for the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In anticipation of your action, the city clerk has prepared a certification of sufficiency of the petition. In light of certification, you have in front of you a resolution prepared by the city attorney setting the public hearing date for the June 8th, 2023 city council meeting on the requested annexation. Staff recommends adoption of this resolution by reference.
Motion?
Mayor, I move we adopt the resolution setting the date for public hearing by reference.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Motion to approve by reference. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Heath. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Patton, you're gonna tell us about this fabulous grandstand we're building at McCray. Yes, sir. And I was out there at 4 o'clock today, so I give you some up to date, up to the minute.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council. All right, first off, we're gonna look at the bathroom building and the ticket building. The ticket building kinda got cut off there, but you can see the doorway on the left-hand side. It's just a big rectangle. It's kinda similar to what was there, but updated and nicer. It'll actually have some sort of airflow there, so that's will help helpful. So as far as those, the roof trusses are being constructed as we speak. I was talking to Jimmy. They said 1 week to construct. They already have the materials, so hopefully in the next week or so, those will be starting to go in and going up. Which
On
will,
the bathroom
bathroom and the ticket booth.
and the ticket booth?
Yes, sir.
And that's a combination hip roof and flat roof?
Mm-hmm. Yep. We just had to wait on get the steel trusses constructed, and that was the holdup. So we're expecting to get those in next week. Speaking with Rogers, you can see the concession stands in the back where near the lull and under the grandstands. Those are the roofs, you probably saw them getting put on at 4 o'clock today. They're putting the roofs on those. As far as interiors, you can see.
Back up 1 sec.
Yes, sir.
One slide. The one in the middle is the
electrical
mechanical room.
Yes, sir.
And the one on each end is the
Concessions.
concessions.
Yes, sir. All right. I didn't take a picture in the electrical rooms, not that exciting. But as far as concession buildings, as you can see, they're starting to run wire actually, and they're getting the receptacles in. Come Monday, the roll-up doors will be delivered, so they can start installing those along with the countertops, which are already there, but they had to wait to get the door in. So those, and then once those are in, they'll start putting in the drop ceiling. And he said his expected date is May 17th. Those doors will be locked. They'll hand us the key, and they'll just be ready to go come game time. So for us to move in, obviously refrigerators and all. But let's see. Next, we have the grandstand. What everybody's excited about. We got on the left hand, the bleachers are already in, lacking the fence around so nobody falls off, and they're beginning to paint the first base side. In the picture you can kind of see they're priming the third base side, and this morning and this afternoon they were putting in the bleachers on that side.
At 4 o'clock, they had all the decking on the right-hand building. All the decking was up.
They worked quick.
they do, and this is a company that installs these all the time.
Out of, I think it's. Texas, it's, name slipping the company, but, that is all this is all they do. They, is one of the, and they're the only company that allowed us to paint the grandstands. And have you seen the steel on, it'll be a green color to match the bathroom, and it really pops. I'm sure most of you have been out there, but it'll look really good when everything's matching. We talked to Mark. He said they'll be working 7 days a week, 10-hour, 12-hour days, and rain or shine, you know, of course not thunderstorms, but
You want to tell us about that steel beam on top of the?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
that steel beam is discussing right above the concession is where they're gonna hang the press box. That'll be towards the end, once they get the the stadium seating in the middle. First, they're gonna have to get everything painted, but once they get stadium seating in, they're gonna bring in a crane to hang the press box. And once that's done, they'll run up the conduit to it, and then we'll be able to run our wire and get everything.
It's prefab.
Prefab, yes, sir.
Yeah.
What else we got? And Mark was telling me, you know, it may look like a lot's going on, and a lot has gone on with the bleachers, but there's, as you can imagine, thousands of bolts, so the stadium seating is going to take a little bit longer to go in, but as far as bleachers go, they're moving right along. And he fully expects to be, without hiccup, end of the month, to be ready to go.
Jimmy's guys are out there running conduit to the bleachers today for electrical.
Yep. And then next is another thing we've contracted with Rogers is begin to dig the tot lot wall for the playground there that was donated by the Kiwanis Club. This will be a 12-foot poured in place concrete wall at the highest point. So they've already got utilities stubbed out. They're just digging the footing, and he's going as fast as he can on that.
That's outside
The playing, sir.
the field. I mean,
Yes.
the brick wall that behind the dugout.
Yes, sir.
That's actually outside of that.
So, yes, and
Behind the left field bleacher.
yes, sir. So they can continue to work on that while things are going on because it'll be outside of, you know, daily use. And I believe they're still shooting to have that done at our original contract date with them. Wanted to have everything wrapped up for 4th of July so we can have a big opening then for after. It'll be playable and workable before then, but have a big opening with them on 4th of July, and they plan to have that wrapped up. We've already been in discussion with them and the playground installer that did our one at the Sportsplex. Got them on schedule, worked out. We're working on a surface right now, designed for that, and we're gonna have them come back once the wall's in and it's filled up. They'll
Is
come
it
in.
gonna have that same surface? The rubber?
Rubber
foam
surface,
rubber?
yeah, but a different design, obviously. We've gotten a baseball design, but we're gonna see if we can tweak anything, make it look nice. And I can send you that if you'd like.
I don't need it.
All right.
I was just impressed when I walked on it.
It's amazing. I don't know if many of you've been out there, but it's a lot bouncier than you think it'd be. And as far as parking lot updates, another update. Jimmy, I talked with him. The light poles that were broken are going back. The new ones we've bought are coming in Thursday of next week, and they're going to put them up when they get here. So
Huh. Mark told me they were putting them up tomorrow.
I could have been mistaken, but I heard.
I mean, he specifically said we're putting the light poles up tomorrow,
Okay.
but I didn't see them out there.
Yeah, I heard Thursday. I don't know if that meant this Thursday or next, but those should be within the next week or so. We'll get our light poles back.
We had to take 2 light poles down to build the grandstand. And when the rigging company came in to stand them back up, they rigged them wrong and they cracked. So we had to scramble around and find 2 replacements, and nobody has concrete poles on the lot, on the yard.
And these will be steel, but eventually we're already looking at replacing all the existing poles. So, and these will be in the concourse, so you won't really notice. But they were able to get them, and we've had trouble shipping them down here is the delay. But now they finally got it somebody to deliver them, so they should be here next week. Parking lot, we discussed with Jimmy and Terry, we're gonna go ahead and put conduits in for parking lights, even though it wasn't in the original design. We felt it might be necessary to have some sort of street light and parking lights, so those are going in soon, next week or so. And on the back end for the north lot, we're having to put a retaining wall because the slope was just not workable, so. But,
Always something.
yep, always something. It's not a very high one, it's 6 feet at the tallest and down to like 2 feet.
The grade on the upper end of the main parking lot looked to be close today.
Oh, yeah, as far as grading goes, they are probably right at finished grade to get a motor grader out and get the stone down, but we're having to wait now for conduit. We don't want to do things twice, so go ahead and get those in. And that's my updates. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer.
Good job, Spencer.
All right, thank you. Next, present a contract to buy the purchase of parcel on North Macquarie Street. The city's looking to purchase this parcel adjacent to, as it's seen there in front of you. You also have a plat prepared by our city surveyor. The city's looking to purchase a property adjacent to Macquarie Park and US Business 220 for interstate signage for the ballpark. The property is 0.249 undeveloped acres owned by Donald Hemingway Jr., and it was previously NCDOT excess right of value for the property of $13,500. I know Jeff's been working on a contract along with Tom to get it sorted out so it can be paid for, and legally with the plat, which we didn't have, Tom had to make from scratch because the one that was there was just unusable. So
With setbacks, it's not buildable, probably.
yeah, as
It'd be a challenge to build anything on it,
besides
besides a sign.
yes, sir. And an advantage to this for us is DOT has strict rules about having interstate signage in their right-of-way, what can and can't be done. So since it would be off their right-of-way, we would be having more freedom to decide what type of sign we're looking for and what's available. John Evans will be presenting that later, what we can and can't do. And
The good old 220 overlay district strikes again.
yep.
I hate that thing.
Well, this might be a good workaround, so.
Any questions? The aerial picture of the park, does that show, I mean, is that up there to show this piece of property? Or,
It's the highlighted,
oh,
yeah.
I was looking up here. I thought, okay, I see that now. All right, gotcha. I was looking above the park. Left field, not right field.
Yep, yes, sir.
Sorry.
Not a problem.
All right. Okay,
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, guys.
thank you.
We will need a motion, Mr. Mayor, to approve the execution of the contract. It'll be a standard bar form.
Okay, we have a contract in our packet. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move we approve the purchase by way of the contract to the parcel as shown on the plat.
All right, Mr. Bell, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Burks, discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, Ms. Reeves, you wanna figure out how to pay for that?
Well, you guys are hopefully going to pass the 2 budget amendments that are in your packet that will allow us to pay for them. You've got 2 budget amendments. The first one is the ordinance to amend the general fund. This ordinance appropriates $16,000 from our fund balance and sets up a contribution to the Macquarie Ballpark Fund for the same $16,000. I recommend adoption by reference.
Question?
If there are any questions, if there are not any questions.
Have a motion, may I have a motion to approve by reference?
Mayor, I move we approve the ordinance to amend the general fund, authorizing the fund balance allocation by reference.
Have a motion by Mr. Bell. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Heath. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, we do appreciate the way Mr. Bell phrased that, because that took care of the general fund. If we could have a second vote.
Yeah, I was
on the
about
one
to.
For the ballpark improvements fund.
Yeah, I was about to present
Yeah,
that.
she's,
The second budget amendment is the ordinance to amend the McCrary Ballpark Improvement Fund. And this is going to be designating the receipt of the funds from the general fund for $16,000 and appropriating expenditure in the project fund for the same $16,000 for the purchase of land. We are recording it in the McCrary Ballpark Fund in order to make sure we keep all of our costs associated with all, or we're trying to keep as many costs as we can associated with McCrary Ballpark renovation together for accounting purposes. If there are no questions, I recommend adoption of the ordinance to amend the McCrary Ballpark Improvement Fund by reference.
questions? Anybody?
Mayor, I move we approve the ordinance to amend the McCrary Ballpark Improvement Fund by reference.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bell. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Burks. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Evans.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and council members, good evening. So I'm going to talk to you about just some conceptual ideas for the signage, and this is more of an information sharing step at this point. So the question came up as far as zoning, so I will just mention right offhand that with the type of sign that this would be as a public sign, those do have more flexibility than some other signs, but we will be looking at different signs in the area to try to keep the proposal in character with the sign. And also, even though this is its own parcel of land, because it is connected with McCrary Park, we can look at that as one zoning lot, so it's not considered a billboard. And so, and the ordinance does make an allowance for that, thankfully. So
Had to use mine as an identifier on the build, on the structure.
right.
No.
So.
That's right.
And so you kind of saw earlier on Spencer's photo the location of the property, and I will just point out that this location, according to 2021 traffic data, had 41,000 vehicles per day averaged out in 2021, and I suspect that would be higher now because of more travel since 21 with just different changes and more people out and about in this area. So just to show you kind of what the property looks like from the interstate, this would be looking southbound on I-73, 74. The subject property is on the right. This is right before you get to the kind of the left turnoff for West Salisbury Street and Sunset Avenue. So the vegetation that you see, the larger trees, those are on the subject property. You kind of see the fence line where there's just basically kind of some honeysuckles growing along the DOT right-of-way fence. And then this is looking northbound on the interstate as you're just coming off of the Sunset and Salisbury left yield. So you see the McCrary Park where those lights are, and then the subject parcel is right kind of where those arrows are drawn in. And then this is a view from North McCrary Street, so you do get a sense for the close proximity from the North McCrary Street to the interstate here in this location. You actually see the right-of-way fence there and some vehicles passing. So just in this general area, just to show you one potential example of some freestanding signs that we have, you see the Klausner sign that's been up for many decades, some landscaping around the base of that. So that's one potential approach to the type of signage that could go here. I was looking at different examples of minor league ballparks and trying to find one that was located directly on some sort of limited access freeway. So I think probably the best example I could find in North Carolina was the Winston-Salem Dash. This is along what used to be Business 40, and this is now Salem Parkway that was redone maybe a couple years ago. So you see the sign on the right that they have. And this is kind of showing the possible LED boards where, you know, the message can be changeable copy. Of course, with that type of sign, there's typically a 5-second delay, so it's not flashing and creating any sort of a traffic hazard, and certain standards on lighting that aren't creating glare into the interstate or to adjoining properties, because there is an adjoining residential property to the north for the zookeeper's McCrary Park site.
You need to ride on around the streetscape on First and Second Street on around the ballpark.
Right.
And all the apartments.
Right.
They built it up there.
Right. So one design potentially. This is a little bit of a lower profile design, and J.T. Cox in the sign shop provided these, but this would have kind of the masonry base and that stone design, and an area for changeable copy with the historic McCrary Park logo. There's also a potential for a sponsor logo of some sort there on the sign. And a second example is the kind of a more of a freestanding sign. There are all kinds of different ways that the base or the legs could be designed with, you know, you see the theme obviously letting travelers know that there is the baseball stadium there. The base could be a different design. There's the potential, as we've talked about internally with different departments, about doing some sort of artwork that kind of shows off the theme of either the ballpark, the North Carolina Zoo on the property. So
Back up one, please.
Sure. Whoops.
How do you determine the visibility of that sign going 65 miles an hour?
Right. So
or 75 miles an hour?
There's a manual, a NUTCD standard that tells you.
Right. I know if I can go back to the slide right here, as far as visibility, the further south on the property you go, the higher the grade is. So there would be better visibility on the southern side of the property to
And
kind of
then
build
by
that
the
up.
time you see it, you've missed your exit.
Yes, sir. So that is a bit of a.
Looks like a wreck starting to happen to me.
Right. So that's certainly.
You gotta change lanes to the center to get off it, or go down and turn around and come back.
I think, and J.T. Cox mentioned that they looked at the dimensions of the green sign. I know it's a little sort of faint in the background there, but that has the 42 Asheboro exit, and that was 16 by 8. So that was just under 150 square feet for that sign. So perhaps in that size range would be kind of in keeping with that.
The reason those identifier signs on the interstate are 200 feet high, there is no reason I can comprehend why we don't allow them, but we don't.
If you don't have the height, they'll never see them.
But it's, the point being, so you can see them from far enough away to make a decision to get off the road.
That little green sign you just referenced is a mile from the exit. It highlights.
Right.
And not 75 yards.
Right.
Or 100 yards or whatever.
Right.
It'd be nice if it were a little further up the street, up the highway. But yeah, gonna be nice to have a sign out there. I'm just not sure anybody's gonna make that exit.
Well, we fill in that lot, you know, because our square footage are part of our height things. I mean, you know, they're just from grade, so we just need to raise the grade.
Okay, anything else?
No, sir.
Any questions or John's?
I was thinking if you look at that Klausner sign, and that's up on a hill, so that's a little more visible. But you know, something going up vertical as opposed to so low to the road.
It's also clear for about 100 yards in
Yeah.
both directions.
There was a mysterious blight ice storm one May.
Yeah. But something along those lines, I think, would be more useful.
That's been, what, 30
Yes, yes, sir. And Mr. Burks, I believe the height of that sign is about 20 to 25 feet. It was, I did try to find a permit for it, but because of, you know, how long ago it was placed, we
permit?
don't have, right, so,
Surely you don't think they got a permit?
oh, well,
What did
that
you
was
misunderstand
decades
about
back.
the mysterious blight and ice storm in May?
But for me, I think that's a more usable type of, I mean, you can put whatever LEDs up in there that you want to display.
Okay.
But you've got it up high enough that people can see.
Right, at that speed, certainly.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Evans.
Yes, sir.
Good job.
Thank you.
Those nice-looking signs.
It shows you the ingenuity and the quality of the people we have in the sign shop.
Even though somebody didn't really understand why we would do a mariachi festival, it starts tomorrow night. And the tickets are available at Parks and Rec or at the theater door.
They'll be available at the door, but you also get them online.
Okay, and then Saturday's Mariachi Music Festival in Bicentennial Park is free. And we'll have 4 or 5 different acts, including the Folklorico Guadalupe dancers, who are always out there in Bicentennial Park practicing. And Wellness Week events, Thursday, May 11th, starting at 6 p.m. at Sunset Theater, screening of a new documentary, followed by question and answer with Dr. Adams. Dr. Adams is the former Surgeon General in the Trump administration. So he will be at Sunset Theater, 6 o'clock on May 11th, to talk about mental health. I believe that's right. Saturday, May 13th, health fair at the Rec Center, 5 p.m. mural dedication at Sunset and Church, and 7 o'clock, 10-minute Platt Festival at Northridge Church. And then Hillside Shopping Center, I assume this is the Cooperative Extension doing the document shredding and medicine disposal. Bicentennial Park Friday night, summer concert series. Okay, Sunday is the Sunday the 21st is the first show of the summer, and then the next Friday night is the 1964 Beatles tribute band, and I have been told that they're about the best Beatles tribute band in the country. I'm in Asheboro. Offices are closed on May 29th, Monday, for Memorial Day. Anything else there? Is that it? Want to thank the council for being present at the 20th anniversary of Star Pet. That was well done, very nice affair, and there were some really nice people. And and thank you all for being at the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast this morning, which I thought was a good event, biggest crowd ever. According to AVS, they served more people than they ever have. They slipped a couple of extra tables in at the back, made a little more room. And so it was, I thought the message was good. So thanks all of you for being there. Start with Kelly down here.
Sure.
Speaking of the concert series, I've got some handy pocket cards that have the full concert series on them. Addie handed these out, so if y'all want one of these, I've got enough for
If you don't wanna
everybody
get them from Kelly, I got some too.
here. So, got these. Year of the Trail event for this month is set for Sunday, May 21st. And it's gonna feature a hike to the Russell Gold Mine in the Uaris. Per usual, you can meet the group at 1:30 at the farmer's market, or you can meet out at the site, and if it's raining, the hike will be canceled. Also,
That's a moderate hike. It's a good hike. They do that regularly.
Also want to congratulate our friends at Asheboro High School for the ribbon cutting earlier this week, to see all the renovations. And also just want to mention for the calendar, the Park Street Players will be doing Godspell next weekend. So, glad to see them back in production. So.
Charles?
Just want to get a shout out to code enforcement, Chuck Garner. Had some complaints from a citizen on residential street. Called me, I got in touch with Chuck. I think Chuck spent the last month or so.
What street?
Dixon.
Oh, okay.
Over here, and, just shows I think, the intricacies you get into with code enforcement and families, and, you know, someone was in there, the son was doing something, the father didn't know that was going on, it was just, but Chuck did an excellent job, spent a lot of time. Lieutenant Eddie Howell also contributed to that, took a whole lot of phone calls. He told me to give her his number, and I did, and she used it, but,
I got a couple of calls on that one myself.
but I think that's in the process of getting resolved, but I do appreciate the excellent job and shows Chuck's negotiating skills and personal skills.
Chuck's very good at it.
Yeah.
Clark?
Just had an issue come up about a week or two ago. There was some lighting issues in our Bicentennial Park parking lot. And it was dark for a couple of days. And somebody called me about it and called staff about it. They got on it. It turns out it was, I think, an issue really relative to Duke Power.
It was a fuse holder.
Yeah, so but the city was instrumental in getting that
Well,
resolved. And
yeah.
they were very tickled that it was done, so.
Duke has split their lighting and their electrical divisions into two groups. And, we found out about it. City staff reported it Tuesday morning, and Duke came out, looked at it, and issued a 811, advisory, meaning they were gonna dig. And Jimmy kept telling them that he didn't think it was in the ground, that it was in the pole. And then on Thursday, they said, well, you know, we don't work on Friday.
They're
And
horrible.
so at that point, I called the area manager and I said, somebody needs to have some urgency here. They've been looking at it since Tuesday. And we have the park rented. You had the park rented Saturday for a church till 10 o'clock that night, and there wasn't a light out there. And so, they fixed it Monday morning, and it turns out that it was a fuse holder. Wasn't the fuse, it was the holder had broken and was hanging off of the feeder pole. And if they'd looked at it Tuesday when they were out there, they'd have figured that out. So, took a call to the area manager.
They were happy that it got resolved
Yeah.
and.
So they fixed it Monday by replacing the fuse holder, because it didn't work on Friday and they couldn't figure it out on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So that just, nobody cares about customer service anymore.
Oh, Mayor, one other thing, I'll call to your attention, because Trevor's nice enough to get me the birthday list, that Joanne's birthday is Monday.
Whoa.
Because.
Well, we close Monday.
This coming Monday. So,
It's coming,
yeah.
man.
We ought to close for her birthday.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Walker?
Based on tonight's earlier, events, I would like to just ask if there would be a consensus amongst the council to have staff conduct a a survey, if you will, get us some data, from surrounding cities and towns, large ones, small ones, of counties. I don't know what the randomness of it needs to be, but of what type time frame is allowed at public speaking, 2 minutes, 15 minutes, what, and how are others handling this? I would like to see that data,
Check,
see if there
check
might be
that on the
something
listserv.
that would,
It's not been a problem until tonight. I mean,
well, I don't know that I agree with that, but it was especially annoying tonight.
well, because we had two people that wanted to complain about things they didn't understand. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but that's exactly what they were complaining about.
The root of their disgruntlement was mostly their ignorance.
So, but generally, we have none or one, and most of the time, it's not abnormally long. I would, quite frankly, unless it becomes a bigger problem, I would hate to see us limit it. Because county commission gets a lot of grief for 3 minutes because you can't say jack in 3 minutes.
Hence the survey. What, I'm just, is there a plan that would work and serve without it being open-ended?
Yeah.
I mean, for good Lord's sakes, make it 12 minutes. That'd be better than what we've done. If you can't get it said by then, you repeat yourself.
All right, Eddie?
I ran into the mayor today out at the ballpark. Last month, I've been going out there 2 or 3 times a week because it's just fascinating to see how rapidly things are going up. It's really interesting to go out there. So I wasn't surprised when I saw you out there. I said, when I was coming around the curve, I said, there's the mayor. But he was doing more than sometimes I walk out there, I usually just pull in and park and look. But the mayor's actually out there walking on stuff, so, but I did walk the other day, and this Mr.
If you're gonna do that, you have to have a vest and a hard hat.
Oh, okay, well,
Right, Jeff?
Yes, sir.
A vest and a hard hat.
okay. Well,
And avoid
unless
the
there was
trespassing
footage of me,
sign.
nobody knows I was there, except for this Williams guy who's kind of in charge of things out there. And, interesting fellow, I enjoy talking to him.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And a OSHA 10 card.
Yeah.
And safety.
Yeah.
And you don't walk around the sign that says fall protection required.
yeah, but anyway,
All right,
a lot of progress.
Nothing to add.
Bill?
No comments.
Appreciate everybody showing up last night for the Housing Authority,
That's
dinner.
the invite.
Okay, thanks, everybody, appreciate it. Hope we didn't keep you too long. Perla, good to see you here.
It's part of leadership Randall. So it's quite a.
Well, once you show up, you might as well stay till the end.
HR, are you homeless? I said, are you homeless?
Might be, I think.
What you doing here?
All right, we're adjourned. Thanks, Trevor.
I get you a couple square feet of Tractor Supply.
Have a good evening.